Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Kristen here with Soul, Wit, and Wisdom. Today is May 1st. Holy crap. I think that's so crazy. So crazy. I was talking about this yesterday on my what was supposed to be my last interview. I committed to doing an interview each weekday from April 1st to April 30th. And as April 30th is coming, I'm like, I'm not done. I'm like, nope, I'm not done. So I'm so excited to introduce my guest with you today. Let me introduce her officially with her amazing bio. Tam Templeman is passionate about transformation inside and out. In her professional life, she helps clients transform their homes into beautiful, healthy, highly functional spaces that fulfill their needs and desires. She co-founded Houseplay Renovations while studying interior design at Parsons, the New School for Design. And as creative director, she helps clients develop a strong vision for their space and then create action steps to bring that vision into reality. She actually, I met Tam in a personal development leadership program. And here's what I'll say about her. This is my personal testament to her bio, is that she is the epitome of quiet, subtle, powerful leadership. And we can talk about that. She and I can maybe talk about that, and that will probably come up. But she was such a powerful example of this. And I'm this kind of like, hey, what's up? And she was this example of this very quiet, understated, yet exceptionally powerful leader. And so I'm so excited to have her here with us today. And I'm going to bring her in to the stream. Tam, hi, we made it. We had some technical difficulties.
Just in the nick of time.
Just barely made it. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited that we get to talk today. So I was talking about how, my experience of you as a subtle, intuitive, powerful leader for yourself, for your voice, for what matters. And I'm sure that will come out and get weaved into our conversation. But what I would love to do is have you tell your story in a sense, kind of what led you here to where you are right now, with an emphasis on the areas of your life or experiences in your life that maybe were not so easy, or maybe were challenging or confrontational for you, that what you learned in the process of going through a difficult time, let's say something like a time like this, what did you learn about yourself, about your personal power, and what had you rise up? Because here's the deal with life, we've got this, and then we've got this, and then right? So I really want you, I would love to have you share, a little bit about your history and your background and who you are, and maybe share a couple of times when life either kicked you while you were down, or there was a really challenging time, and what you discovered about yourself to rise up out of that circumstance.
Oh, great question. So juicy. I love it.
I know.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Kristen. Yes. This is super fun. I'm excited for this conversation. And so the things that I'm thinking about, the theme that kind of weaves them together is this theme of going inwards and being very clear about what you know to be your next step. And when you know that that's your next step, but you also know that that next step doesn't really fit with anything around you, and that it's going to be a little bit of like a bombshell on everybody else, right? So, and this theme, I think, has followed me throughout my life. And there have been moments where I've been much more in touch with that knowing and much more courageous to just like know and then go. This is my a new motto that I'm taking on. I know, I go. And it started pretty far back. The one that I'm thinking about right now is at the end of high school. I was all set to go to college. I'd sent out all the applications. I'd taken my SATs. I did well. I was first in my class, so I was, like ready to just go and take on whatever, the world. And I had this sense that I wanted to help people. It was like this idea that I wanted to like create positive change in the world. And so in my 17-year-old, like very like literal mind, I was like, okay, I want to help people. So I'm going to become a social worker. So that was where I was headed. And I was I was accepted into a program at NYU, and I was ready to go. And in April, it came time to like you have to like fill out. I feel like it was like a little postcard or something, and it's like, all right, I'm coming here. Yes, and I just remember walking into my parents' room and being like, I'm not going. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like the right fit. I don't know what it is, but I'm not ready to go to college.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was so clear for me that in that moment, it didn't feel
like a big deal.
Yeah, no, it just felt like
this is the truth.
Clear truth.
Yeah.
And I think because it was so clear for me, my parents were like immediately on board. They were like, okay, we understand. Like, we get it. We're enrolled. Like, bonus, like we get another year to save up for tuition.
Oh.
But yeah, it was easy and clear. But what happened in the fallout from that, which I did not expect, was that I ended up losing most of my friends. I had a really beautiful, tight-knit group of friends in high school. And, they were very encouraging at first, like really like, yeah, you follow your path. But there was a lot of like this backlash that I totally didn't expect. And it took me years to understand. But it's like when your path diverges from the status quo, I don't know. People find it threatening, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. And so like my goal is that like by giving myself permission to follow my path, I therefore give other people permission to be brave enough to follow their path. But sometimes people aren't ready to go there. And so they just, I don't know, they feel threatened. And so I got a lot of strange things that happened when I went back to school and said, I'm not going to college right away. And it was like, it was a big deal.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that so great. Like, this is so great. So are you the only one that did that in your,
like in like the tier of, students that were like in all their honor classes and AP class, and like the top 10%, whatever, all those things that like meant a lot in high school and to other people and never really meant that much to me, but I was just happened to fall into there. So yeah, it was like I remember the superintendent of the school, like at prom, like introduced me to someone and was like, oh, she's going to NYU. And I was like, oh no, you must not have heard. I'm not going to NYU. And she was like, oh yeah. Shh.
Yes.
Like she like shushed me.
She shushed you. So, and here's why I think that's so powerful, because there's a movie, and it's not coming to me, but there's a movie where it's like everyone's walking this path, and the path is everyone's going there. And then no one even realizes that they're on the path until someone steps off. And then everyone's like shaken, like, wait, first of all, there's another option. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the things that we do because we're supposed to, and this is what people do, especially smart people, right? Like, so you took yourself off the path, and what it did was illuminate to others that there was another path. That's fascinating.
So fascinating. And like I said, like in the moment, it was just easy for me because I was like, I get to follow what's true. But then it got harder when people kept coming telling me that I was making a mistake.
You were doing the wrong thing. Yeah. So then what was that journey like from honoring yourself in that moment, like saying, no, this going down this path doesn't feel right. So I'm going to go over here, or I'm just going to hold off. I'm going to step off the path for a minute. What did you learn from that?
Well, totally learned to trust myself because when I stepped off the path, I was like, okay, I gave myself like a year. It ended up being a year and a half to be like, what do I want to do? Not like, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? Like, what do I want to do now, today? And I was like, I want to travel. Like, I want to travel around Europe. So I was like, well, if I want to travel, I need a job. So I went out and I started just like filling out applications at different shops around town. And Starbucks, I got rejected. And then
were you not peppy enough for Starbucks?
I guess I wasn't peppy enough.
This is so funny. But I actually went to go apply at Starbucks, and this was I don't even know when. Like, it was a long time ago, like part-time in my 20s or something. And one of the questions on the application, I have to say this, is, are you addicted to smiling? I was like, no, I'm not addicted to smile. It was seriously, legitimately an answer on the thing. And I was like, I am not meant for this place. Now, listen, I am a happy guy. Like I'm a happy camper, right? Like I love, but not inauthentically addicted to smiling. Right. So that's so great.
I think they didn't hire you. I think it was like, I don't really drink coffee, but I like people. And they were like, okay, you kind of have to like people and drink coffee.
So funny. Okay, keep going. Sorry, I had to sidetrack there.
Oh, I love it. Across the street, there was a Gap Kids. And I walked in there and I filled out an application. They were hiring for holiday. So it was like a temporary position. I got in and I loved it. And because this is my way. I was like curious about everything. And so I started helping out with all the different things. So I was supposed to first just be like on register, but then I was like doing all the things. And I started doing visual merchandising, which I found fascinating and fun. And it was like, we get boxes of stuff and we get like a map. Like this is how we, like corporate sends, like this is how we want it to look. But our store was this old historic building with like little nooks and crannies and columns. And so we couldn't match those maps exactly. So then we had this like fun challenge of like, how do we fit this into the space that we have? How do we make it look beautiful? How do we make it function really well? So it was like this, it was a beautiful mix of like very strategic, like, you know, left brain and very creative right brain.
Oh, cool.
And so then I was like, this is what I enjoy. Like, I love this. What is this? Like, what career is this? And so that the rest is history, but I ended up going for interior design. I'd already actually applied for a liberal arts degree at a different college. And it was one where you could create your own degree, which was awesome.
Like, why not? A la carte. Yeah, just throw some of this in there. That's so great.
And it turns out that they happen to be affiliated, like under the same university umbrella as Parsons School of Design, which I had never heard of up until then, but turns out is like a really prestigious interior design program.
So what you learned in that moment is like, to trust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else? What was the next? Yeah.
It was like, be in the present moment and like look for just the step in front of you, because it's like letting life unfold as an adventure. It's like, I don't know where this is taking me. I just know this is what I want now. And it feels very clear and it's in alignment with my values. And therefore I'm going to take this step and then this step and then this step. And it all unfolded. If I hadn't been traveling around Europe like I was, I probably wouldn't have spent as much time with my now, partner and husband. And so then we ended up dating because of that. Like we were already friends, but we ended up spending more time together. Then we ended up getting married. Now we have 3 kids. We created this business together. Everything happened as it was, but it only happened because I trusted myself moment by moment in that process of unfolding.
So so talk about the difficulties during that time, because lots of friends. So what did you discover about that?
So it was like, it took me a while to kind of get it. Like I said, cause I'm like a giver. Like I love to just love on people and reach out and stay connected. And at a certain point so my friends, like my closest friends, I like went with them and like moved them into their college dorm rooms and like traveled like hours away to do that and whatever. And then like a couple years later, I realized like they're like hanging out in New York City. I live in New York City. No one's reaching out to me. This is so strange. Like what's going on? And it was probably not till like my 10-year reunion. I decided to go to my 10-year high school reunion. And I was like, oh, they're all still friends with each other. And they're all like teachers, guidance counselors. They all live very close to the town where we grew up, or in the town where we grew up. Some of them are married to each other. Like, it's just this like very weird thing. And I was like, oh, they wanted to keep their life like in this space.
Right. Yeah.
And I went into this other space and they couldn't, I don't know. It was like they couldn't conceive of how like their life, even whatever they choose is fine, but how it could still include like space for me.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was like threatening to that aspect of like, maybe there's a part of you that wants to give yourself permission, but doesn't have the courage to do it. And then when you see someone else do it, there's like resentment, I think, that comes up.
Resentment, and it's threatening, and it brings up a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So was there a moment where it was like, see, because here's what I'm putting myself in that situation. Like, I probably would have had some sort of FOMO. Like, I would probably have an instance or two of self-doubt, because I'll tell you, like, Tam, for me, I have not really dove into trusting myself, like that authentic knowing, that intuition, that this is where I'm supposed to be. And until recently, like probably the last 5 years, really the last year, like the last year, really listening and really trusting. So, but you had that trust in yourself. Yeah. So was that always there? Did you nurture it? Did you like what?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it ebbs and flows, like it was, and this is so fabulous because when you talk about like the ups and the downs, right? I'm back in high school, but this is just like one experience that can be like has been repeated out in different scenarios. But I think this is a really beautiful example. My junior year of high school, I had a really beautiful friendship with this young man, and we were really close friends. There was like a lot of deep love there, but then for various reasons, like we were never going to be able to date each other. And something shifted where it got a little messy, like a little scary and ugly and like possessive. And I was like, ooh, I don't like this. But it was also heartbreaking to me because I really cared about this person. So there was like this period of time that was very dark. There was very like heavy darkness where I felt like unsafe and unclear about what is this love, like what is this about, like me, like how can I like be genuine and like loving someone, even knowing that like that wasn't going to like ultimately be able to be anything more than just a friendship. And my senior year, I remember like coming back to school, and it was like this rising, right? So I talk about this a lot, and like this is like my reminder about rising. It's like we have pain, and then there's like this period of waiting and quiet, and then we rise. And I'll just credit like the metaphor obviously exists, but the one who's coined the phraseology of it is Glennon Doyle. And what I noticed is like that summer was like the waiting, the quiet space where we had distance from each other. I went away for a little while, came back. When I came back into school, I was more powerful, more grounded in who I was. I like set very clear boundaries with him. And I started dating someone else who held this beautiful space for me to just be myself. He always felt like he was just kind of like amused by me, which is like beautiful because I just like blossomed into that space. And so it was from the pain and the waiting and the rising that like I blossomed in this space of like being more in touch with the free-spirited nature of who I really was. And I think that was such a gift. And it's like same thing. How did I get through the hard time after like high school? It was this process of grieving, it was like at one point it was like denial, like, oh, this is weird, I don't understand this, anger. But then it was like when I finally was able to grieve it and just like let it go, I don't feel resentment about it anymore. I just feel like, oh, okay, this trust that like it just opened up space for me to move into like the next phase of my life, a new group of friends, a new relationships, new experiences. So, and I'm still reminding myself of that every day, right?
Yeah. It's not like it's, like check that box, I'm good there. It's constant. It's always, there's always the next iteration of it. Yeah.
Exactly. Totally.
So what other kind of like, what, I mean, I don't know, like I feel like, so the reason I asked my guests to share this kind of like, the fall and then the rise, which is so great that you have, the ring and the wings, and is that we're in a period of opportunity and possibility, but it can be very challenging. It can be very dark for a lot of people. It can be very scary, very fear laden. So this is why like the theme of these interviews really is like, how did you rise up? Like, who did you become? What did you learn? Because I really want this to be, I want this going to land for somebody that like out of this situation, I get to become. right?
Yeah.
Or I
Yeah.
get to redefine, or I get to fill in the blank. I get to stay where I am. Like I get, like, there's so many options right now for people. We can go back to the way it was.
Right.
We can, right? Like, which isn't possible. There's never going any, going back. But so what do you see as the opportunity right now for people to rise through this?
Well, I will say that my own experience of this has already encompassed, like I've had one of those little cycles that has kind of happened for me. Because like, how long has it been now? I know, but like 6-7 weeks, something like that, maybe more. Right before, like leading up to this shelter in place situation, I opened an office space that didn't, like, it was the first time we were having an office space where my team could work together and we could host events. I had actually supported another friend in designing an environment for an event. That was an amazing experience. And I was like, maybe I'm going to design for events now. Like, this is like a thing that I wanted to do. My word of the year for 2020 was freedom.
Yep. Freedom in quarantine.
Freedom in quarantine. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
So the first few weeks, there was like a lot of this like tantruming that was coming up for sure. You know,
I love it.
It's like, what the fuck is
Yes.
this? Like, I
had plans. Like, I was gonna go. Yeah, I totally get it.
I didn't sign up for this. I'm not aligned. You know,
not enrolled in this freaking shit. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And then so that kept happening, and then I got sick. I thought it was a migraine, but like for a couple of days, I was like knocked out. Some sort of virus. I don't know what it was. Just stayed home, put myself to bed, took as best care of myself as I could. After like my physical symptoms were gone, I just felt so tired, and like a very clear voice that just kept saying, "Go lie down, go lie down." And ironically, it was right around the time of Easter, which is all about this story of the pain, the waiting, and the rising. And so I just trusted it. And it was scary to trust it because, like, at the same time that my body's like saying, go lie down, I had just said to my team, like, I need to let you go, at least temporarily, so that, we can weather this storm. I don't know what's going to happen next. I'd applied for a disaster loan. Don't know if that's going to come through. So, like, at the same time that, like, everything felt like it was falling apart, my body was saying, do nothing and just wait. So there was a certain point where I just, like, couldn't not listen to it,
right.
You know? And I had to trust it. And in that space, I can't describe the magic that happens because I don't think I have like the words or like the insight to explain it.
Yep.
The magic that happened is that, I don't know, so much cleared out of my system and so much rewired within my brain. And it was like a completely new set of pathways and a new sense of like complete peace and surrender. Because like it was like my body needed to learn the lesson first for my brain to get it. And it's like once we experience in our body something like that, it's like you can't unlearn it anymore. Like you don't. It's so much harder to like forget. Since then, it's been like 2.5 weeks. Nothing externally has changed very much, and I have not felt any fear, anxiety, like pain. Like I just felt calm, peace, and serenity that like at a level I've never felt before.
Yeah. So I love what you said. The body goes through what it goes through. And it's funny because I'm sure you can relate to this. Like, I don't have time to get sick. Like, I don't have time time to rest. Like, there's stuff I got a shit to do, and I got to figure this out, and maneuver whatever I need to maneuver. And it's like, wow, what a lesson. Like, what if we get still and we listen, it's all there. It's all there. And that probably is one of the hardest things for the mind and the ego, and that controlling, pushing, driving nature that really kind of defines our American culture, to be able to say, I'm going to step off the path for a minute. I'm going to trust, because really that's what this opportunity is. It's like, you're like, something's not right here. And sometimes we need an outside influence to knock us out a little bit.
Yeah.
And it is in that like surrender. Like, I think one of the blessings of being sick really is, at least for me, has been up until now, like when I get sick, it's like, well, I have to rest, because right, it's go, do, drive, create, push. Those are the things that are valuable and are and I love it. I love that the blessings and the downloads come in when we let go of control, and when we let go and we surrender and we say, okay, I'm going to listen. At least in this moment, I'm going to listen and I'm going to rest.
Yeah. I think what's happening globally is like a macrocosm of this, right? Exact thing.
Yeah.
And I think that so there's a message that came through really clear for me I want to say a couple months ago now. And it was like, the bath is a great way to quiet your mind. I think we've talked about this before, but like I use the bath as like a way to be like, just now is time to be still, like mind, be quiet, just be still. And what came through very clear was like the body that I have here, like the physical strength, like my ability to make things happen is very puny compared to the ability of like source energy to like create through me. And so it's like, get out of the way. Like, watch what I can do. Like, what I have to do is so much more. And like, you're trying to like muscle it in. And it's like, just be for a second. I have something even better for you. And so I wait. And I kind of like surrender.
Yeah, I love that. It is there. What we can create from here is pretty cool, but it's nothing compared to what's possible when we are actually connected and we are in co-creation.
Totally.
So, I know we when we were talking about, doing this interview, you were like, I got stuff and it's coming through and I don't know what it is yet. So and great. Like that's where you are and that's brilliant. It's beautiful. Yeah. Is there anything that you want to say about that? Like, is there anything that you can share that? Because I'm interested.
I'd love to. So I think what came through, what so far what's clear is that like the work that I've been doing through House Play renovations, which has been for like 13 years, and we've created some amazing stuff, and I'm really proud of it. Right now, it feels a little bit more like that's my job, and there's something else that's my calling. And the skills that I've built up, the tools, the knowledge, like all of that will probably inform whatever it is that is coming next, but it's not going to be like the ultimate like place where I put all of my energy. It's going to be a space where, and I have a great team. So like, this is so like, someone was saying, I was saying this to somebody, I'm like, I just have to figure it out. And they're like, and I explained all the things. They're like, it sounds like you already figured it out. It's just trusting it. Right. So I have a great team. They can run most of what we do with minimal input from me. I just have to be present and available for, supporting them. And so once, if at the other end of this, we can come back together and like keep working on projects, I think that can flow really well. And then, what I get to offer is something different. And there's so many pieces of it that I haven't figured out how they all fit together, but the pieces are coming up and they're getting clearer. And freedom is a big piece of it, which is so fascinating, right? Because it was like, oh, I thought freedom was the word for me. Like, I get to have freedom now. That was like my word of the year, right? I get to enjoy my freedom. And I was like, oh, no, freedom is at like, there's like a whole nother level of what freedom is that like I understand now. And it's like the medicine that I get to offer out and like share and spread. And I'm like, what? So that
I love that. I love that because it always, here's what I love about this. It always starts with this, like, what do I want? Like if you think about it, like, what do I want? Like, what do I mean? Like, we come from the I, right? We come from like the small I self, the small S self. And then if we do the work if we do the work, if we realize that there's this consciousness within us that's greater than anything, that unifies all of us, that is I am you, you're me, that is greater, and we can tap into that, then it does become about like whatever. And this too is like, just freaks me out because I love it. The quote, one of my speakers, actually, their quote was, what you are seeking is seeking you. So it's like when we come in, like when we get quiet and we get still and we listen and we like really feel into the thing. Like for you, this year, 2020 was freedom.
Right.
You had no idea what was possible in letting go and not having it be like Tam's freedom, which will occur, but like this greater global picture for freedom. Like, I am totally excited about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, because I know you, right? And I know you, and how cool that that's what you get to bring.
I know. I keep saying, isn't it ironic? I started singing that song to my kids, and they're like, what are you saying? But yeah, it's like, oh, wow. So much more powerful. And I love how it's like my original intention, right? Like in high school was like, I want to help people. I want to love people. I want people to be supported and empowered. And little did I know that like the path to get there would be so much more interesting than I had anticipated. So yeah, really powerful. The other piece, what you were just sharing, there's this, it's another kind of magic that I don't fully have words to explain, but there's this like quantum magic that happens where when you really focus on healing yourself, healing happens for other people. And maybe it's through you, like maybe it's like you learn a modality or you get in tune with spirit in such a way that you pass it on. But it's not just that. I actually think that energetically, it just shifts the energy of like people. And so like you'll see like pops of healing in like your distant sphere, Yeah. And so like, I want to say, it was after I got sick, so maybe like 2 weeks ago, maybe even less, maybe like a week ago, I got a voice memo from a friend, and he was trying to figure out like his website for his coaching program. And he's been working at this for a couple of years now, and we've been friends for a little over a year. And he was just trying to get like the language right. And all of a sudden, like I sent him something and he sent me something, and then it sparked and I got it and it clicked in. And then he was like, he's like, Tammy, it clicked in. Like, this is it. Like, this is what I've been looking for. And it's been there since like a year ago when we first talked about it, but it didn't click in. Right. And so it totally clicked in. I could hear it in his voice, in his energy. And I sat down and like tears just started coming. Right. Like I started to cry because I was like, holy shit, like I can help other people like click this in. And it's because I actually, like, I believe that it's because I chose to invest time in figuring out what clicks in for me. And then I was like, also I get to believe that I'm worthy of having the clicking in happen for myself, right? Which is like a big thing, because it's always like been, I've been conditioned to believe that like love is always other focused first at the sacrifice of self. And I don't believe that anymore, because I believe that we can only love others to the extent that we love ourselves, and that we accept all the parts of ourselves. Because it brings us full circle, right? Like, why were people having such a hard time with the fact that I wasn't going to college? Like, who gives a fuck? Right. But it was like there was a part of themselves that they were afraid to look at, and I was revealing it. I was embodying a part of them that they were like terrified. Like, like literally the biggest fear was, this sounds so crazy now when I'm 35 and you zoom out and you're just like, okay, college is like 4 years of your life. The biggest fear was, if you don't go now, you'll never go back. Like, how small are they holding me?
Right.
And everyone else? Like, how small? And like, so it's just this like crazy. I love how it all links together and it all ties together.
And here's the thing, that there's the collective, collective agreement about the shoulds in our lives, right? Like, and I am dealing with this right now, and I have been for a while. Our school systems, and what we're actually teaching kids, and then going off to college and what that's actually teaching them, and then what that's preparing them for is to go work for other people. And like, none of it's wrong. Like, none of it's bad. Right. But again, it's like I imagine like fish and they're swimming, you know, you swim in a school, and then there's the outlier that like goes, well, I'm going to go this way. And everyone just goes, what? There's bad things that are going to happen out there. Like, I'm thinking about Nemo. That's, you know, the first Nemo. And it's like, not the drop off. Like, holy crap, there's sharks and there's this and there's that. And there's beauty and there's love and there's joy and there's peace and there's truth. Like, the truth is, maybe I don't ever go back to college. Like, the truth is, I don't know. Like, what if I just don't know? And I just get to discover, and I get to create, and I get to explore. And so, you know, right now in these times, I feel like one of the greatest things that we can do is develop that knowingness, the trust in self. Because right now we're looking externally. We have been. CDC, tell me what I should do. Government, tell me what I should do. Parents, tell me what I should do. Husband, it's like, wow, the power. And then we talked about this at the very beginning. Like, what had you develop your personal power? So it's like going in. And once we go in and do this, like self-discovery and self-healing and self-love, like loving oneself, can we actually give that back out? That's the fucking beautiful gift of life.
Yeah. And that's a rising. And but you can't get to the rising without going through the pain, right? It was that moment of rupture that shifted everything for me. It was that moment. And I think that this is the pattern that I see, like, that works, you know, throughout my history, but I also see it in other examples. And it's, as a culture, right? Talk about cultural conditioning. We are so conditioned to be afraid of pain, avoid pain at all costs, do whatever it takes to make the pain as short as possible,
or as not yet short,
or non-existent.
Or I don't feel like, so I'm gonna numb out.
So we're basically robbing people of rising. Every time that we short circuit the pain, we've missed out on our next level, our next cut, our next becoming. It might be a small one or a big one, but every time, I actually believe every time. Glennon Doyle writes about this in Untamed, and I love, like, she talks about memos that we've been given as parents, and that this generation of parents has been given this terrible memo that we're supposed to protect our kids from pain or any kind of suffering or anything hard at all costs. I have never subscribed to that, which I feel blessed about that, but how many people have? And like, we are actually debilitating our kids. And so she's like, let's write a new memo. And the new memo is, let everything happen to her. Like, love your baby, love her in your home, love her at the polls, love her in the streets, but let everything happen to her and stay near. And I think I take that as a memo for myself. Like, let everything happen to her and stay near. You're big enough to get through whatever it is. Like, and you only know that when you've gone through it and you're on the other side.
You can only experience it by actually going through. I love that. I love that. This is one of my favorite questions to ask my guests. What's the meaning of life?
I love it. Oh my gosh. So I love it. I think the meaning of life is to love and be loved, and like to be in the space of love, because I think that space of love exists between all the boxes that we all put ourselves in. So I'm writing a book right now, and it's just about love in the space between the boxes. I used to think there's something wrong with me because I couldn't fit myself into the boxes properly. And now I'm like, oh, wait a second. This is the meaning of life. To not be in the boxes, to let yourself be in the flow, in the love space, in capital L, like love space. So that's my current answer for today.
To love and be loved. Love it. I love it. How do you infuse humor, fun, joy, wit, lightness into your life? Like, what are your most favorite things that induce laughter or fun?
So British panel shows, if you have not seen them, they're hilarious.
What does that mean, a panel show?
A panel show is like a game show that's totally pointless. So
Okay.
it has like the pretense of a game show, but really it's just a group of comedians who get together to like banter with each other, and super fun. So like even last night I was like, I just need something lighthearted, and so there's one called Would I Lie to You? Very funny. Hold on.
Would I lie to you?
Would I lie to you?
British?
Yeah, it's British. So
panel
show. Yep, you can find that one on YouTube. There's one called QI, which is like random general knowledge, like trivia type stuff. Very funny. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so that's one thing.
I mean, comments, because I'm like, first of all, I'm gonna go back and like, because I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have 3 kids, so I like to hear them tell stories and perform and be with them. I think good conversations with good friends is like a big one for me. Dancing, being silly, that kind of thing.
Love it. All right, let's talk about your free gift. What are you offering?
Oh yes. So what I'm offering is a 20-minute deep dive on Zoom. It could be, like I said, like this is kind of like still open-ended. So it could kind of be a talk about anything. If something that I shared here like sparked an interesting thought for you and you just want to dive deeper in it, awesome. If you have a space in your home that you're kind of frustrated with and you want me to look at it, awesome. It could be kind of anything, but yeah, there's a link to schedule that. I think that Kristen's going to share with you.
Yes, I am. The link to find, to get on Tam's schedule for that 20-minute free discovery call is just go to soulwitandwisdom.com. The link for all of Tam's bio and her, it'll actually have your website and where you can make people connect with you and stuff, and also a link directly to your scheduler. I just thought of something. Yes. This is because I know what you do, and I know you really do create, like, there is something, I'm very in tune to my physical space. I'm learning a lot about like actual space around me. I get this weird feeling of claustrophobia when spaces are too packed in. What can you say about like, how can, like, I wanted to just pick your brain really quick, because I was like, ooh, I want to ask her about this because I'm selfish. What? Is there like some truth to like the feng shui, the energy, the like spatial? I feel like I have spatial OCD. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think if I'm understanding you correctly, I think it makes total sense. And it ties into something I was talking about. So in the house play renovation space, right, like virtual, we're creating virtual services right now because we're pivoting, because we had to pause construction. So we're like, okay, well, what can we do? And so we're creating virtual support. And one of the things that I've been noticing on these calls is we have like every 2 weeks, there's a free coaching call. If you go to my website, sign up for my email list there, you'll get invitations to that. One of the things I notice over and over again is that people's physical space is a reflection of their space. And what I noticed on the last call, which was about working from home, people who are on there who actually work from home regularly, like everyone was squeezing themselves into awkward spaces for their work and like keeping it very small and like just like weird stuff. And everyone, I was like, oh, that's how you value your contribution to your family's livelihood, to the team that you're a part of, like if you're a part of a partnership, if you are like the income that you provide for your family, if you're spending like 9 hours a day at your desk, like why have you not spent any time thinking about like making that a pleasurable space? So we talked about like what you're looking at, is just as important as what's behind you. We talked about like just creating like literally more space if you can, or just visually more space and different ideas like that. So I'd love to hop on a Zoom with you if you want, Kristen. You can sign up.
Great. And you offer that on your website. So if people wanted to do that with you, that's so fantastic. Okay. Thank you so much. I love you. I appreciate you coming on. And again, to get Tam's you get on her schedule, and to get her, that's her free gift, is a 20-minute session with her. Just take her up on that. Soulwitandwisdom.com. Tam, thank you so much. I love you. I adore you. It was so great to have this conversation. And so for those of you who are watching, and it's May 1st today, the interviews that are going to be coming forward are going to be once a week. So I do have Monday, we do have an interview scheduled. So I will post about that, and I'll promote who I have on Monday. But we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.